it's got so little visibility. There's long grass on both sides. I'm riding solo, and yes, I've got a snake bandage with me, but I'm pretty sure there's got to be a better way to get to where I want to go. Bit of an impromptu plan for a Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go check out some potential bikepacking camp spots. So I'm going to load up the bike with gear, so I have a bit of a true to life idea of how accessible or inaccessible this place is going to be. But first things first, I'm going to change out these tires because these Vans Colt are pretty smooth. They're basically just a glorified BMX tire, so not suitable for off-road, and I don't really know what the puncture protection is like. So first things first, we'll get them off and we'll get them replaced out with something like Mavic or Maxxis cross marks, I should say, and we'll go from there. So I've put in about 40 psi. Reason being is the majority of this is going to be on road, and obviously mountain bike tires on road and mountain bike pressures will really bog down and slow you down. But that's a pretty quick tire change. Say in the grand pantheon of dodgy emergency work stands, the let's loop a musette around a seat post from a bike that's hanging off a meat hook onto a garage door rail to the brook saddle of another bike just to keep the derailleur off the floor is probably right up there with some of the greatest ingenuity man has come up with in a pinch. There we have it. 10 minutes later, we've got fresh knobbly tires front and rear. The front's actually on backwards, but I don't think it's going to matter for what we're up to today. Next, I'm going to load it up with kit and hit the road, really. I want to bring my drone to see if I can get any cool shots of it. I need to throw in snake bandage, things of that nature. And that's actually why I pulled out the 15-year-old Loa Renegades, because I don't really know the terrain I'm going into, but all I know is that there's a hell of a lot of snakes around that area. And I'd rather have a little bit more protection, even just around the ankle, than my normal riding shoes would permit. So get it loaded up and then we'll hit the road. So the bike is by no means fully laden, but it'll give me a bit of an impression as to how it may ride with more kit on it, because this is the first time I've been using the coffee rack as any sort of bike packing rack. So I've just strapped the tent to it now. It is a one-man, pretty lightweight tent, so it's not exactly going to push it to its limits. And then in the tail bag, I've just got some spares. I've got my hammock, which also weighs next to nothing. A few other bits and bobs, but not a million miles away from what I do ride with, especially in the warmer months. And then in the frame bag, I pretty much just got the drone, my knife, a few other essential bits. So we'll keep moving and we'll check in when we get to our potential location. So when I was looking at the map, this just didn't make any sense to me. And it was one of those moments where I had to go, I'm just gonna have to trust Google Maps entirely. And good thing I did, because I would have just never known that this path was here. And because it's a bit of an overlapping overpasses, underpasses, it's really hard to discern where a path is, but also where it may be going. Bit of a spaghetti junction. But anyway, we're on this, and it's taking us to hopefully where we need to go. It's quite funny, but not 2 minutes ago I was saying I just had to put my faith in Google Maps, and this is exactly what Google Maps has delivered me to. Yes, it's a path, but it's got so little visibility. There's long grass on both sides. I'm riding solo, and yes, I've got a snake bandage with me, but I'm pretty sure there's got to be a better way to get to where I want to go that doesn't involve mortal risk. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to try the alternate route. So we backtracked a little bit, only a tiny bit, maybe 200 meters or so, but this is a bit more familiar to me, and so I think this is going to be the route that, if it were up to me, I'd be taking. So let's see if that pans out right or wrongly. But it's just coming up here. I'll have a turn off to take, and then I've actually never gone any further than this turn off, so it will be new ground for me, but we'll see how we go. So there's the turn off, and the gate is unlocked, which I can only guess means good things. So I'm gonna have a roll down here and see how it is. I'm also realizing that my front brake, I think the pads may be contaminated, or else they're pretty cooked, but they're not doing much in terms of stopping power, but we'll see how we go. Wow, this looks hugely unused as a path or a road or whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a 4x4 track, but either way, it doesn't look like much comes down here, so we'll keep our wits about us. Alexa, play Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. So clearly I was wrong because there's vehicles down here, but it's a bit weird all the same. So I think I have to go down this gap over here to get down to where I want to go. I'd say in terms of bikepacking spots, this is certainly one of the weirder ones, but we want to get down there. Yeesh. Just got to find the safest route to get down, and the one that actually isn't blocked off by a fence or a big ass drop. So it's not exactly gone to plan. Essentially, where I was looking at as a potential location was down there, but actually under the bridge and over on the far side up the river. But it's not nearly as accessible as I thought it would be, and I mean accessible in all the right ways, as in you can get a bike easily to there. It's much more of a single walking track with a bit of bushwhacking to be done, and I just wasn't really willing to do that solo today. It's quite a hot day, actually, hotter than I expected, so no doubt loads of danger noodles out and about. You can see the track there that I took to get down to it, which in and of itself was stressful enough, with plenty of tails darting into bushes left and right. So I'm going to take the trusty rock hopper back up to the north side, and I don't know, maybe go seek a refreshment. A cop has just gone flying past me on a jet ski. Of all the public sector jobs, cop on a jet ski has got to be one of the very, very top ones. So as much as the hunt for a bikepacking spot has been a little bit of a bust, I can't complain about the quality of the ride. In fact, from here it'll be very hard to see on GoPro. I can actually see the beach that originally I was looking at, and to be fair, from this distance through a couple of coats of Armco, it does look pretty nice. So maybe it's something I'll have to investigate further another time if we can discover something that doesn't involve me having a one-on-one encounter isolated from help with a brown snake. We shall see. Pulled in for a tactical refreshment stop. Have the old school double. Schooner Reshes, Schooner Hard Solo. Finding the bikepacking camp spots has been a bit of a bust, it must be admitted. The bike's been pretty good. Front brake needs a bit of attention, but whatever was on the pads or the disc rotor appears to have burnt off, so it's working a bit better. The tail bag was annoying the hell out of me. It's really badly packed and it just kept falling onto the rear tire. In terms of finding locations, I'm definitely gonna have to do a bit more scouting on Google Earth. I've just not been able to find something that strikes the balance of being concealed enough, yet accessible, yet suitable. Even the place that I did find, I thought, oh, if I can get there, I'll be all right. So back home now after a couple of hours riding and one tactical refreshment stop along the way. Set off with the objective of finding some bikepacking camp spots. Can say with pretty decent level of confidence that was a bust. However, thoroughly enjoyable ride all the same. It was a lot warmer than I expected. It's also the first time I've ever ridden in hiking boots, and that did bring to life some realities, like they don't grip terribly well to pedals, and also they make your stack height that bit higher, so your saddle ends up a bit too low. But other than that, enjoyable ride. I'm going to head back out again on this bike, so I'm going to leave it pretty kitted up next weekend and check out some of the other spots that I'd spotted on Google Earth and see if they're any more suitable, because today's one, Google Earth, kind of didn't do me much of a solid. Actually, quite literally led me down the garden path if the garden was full of Brown Snake Disneyland. So pick it up again next week and we'll go from there. Not sure if you can hear me. It's quite a bit of wind. It does have a windsock on the GoPro, but still. So we're obviously in beautiful Cronulla in South Sydney, and we got the train down on account of a pretty eye-watering hangover. But we're going to ride from Cronulla north, head out towards Kurnell with a view to scoping out some potential camp spots. So it should be a bit of an interesting ride as well. We'll see how we go. Always plenty of scenery in Cronulla. Just a bit of casual gravel climbing. Really shake the hangover out of me. Doesn't kill me, will certainly bring me a little bit closer to death. Fortunately, it's not that hot. It's only about 27, 28 degrees Celsius. So all in all, pretty pleasant, although a consistent headwind. So we're just about to approach the Cronulla sand dunes. You can see them up there on the horizon. For those of you who are maybe not from Australia or not from Sydney, I'm obviously not born and raised in Australia, but I've lived here long enough. But you might be familiar with the song Down Under by Men at Work. Very famous Australian song that kind of is a global hit and much beloved. Well, the exterior shots of that music video were filmed up here in the dunes. So there you have it. There's Cronulla sand dunes. So like I was saying, that's where the exterior shots of the music video for Down Under by Men at Work was filmed. You can kind of see why. It's pretty cool. Plus the sea is right there, so you're very, very close to all the action. But yeah, beautiful spot, but an absolute pig to cycle on. Alright, there comes the real fun. Riding on sand. And taking turns like an Arctic truck. Come on. There's that two-wheel drive when you need it. I have actually taken an e-bike down here before, so you do actually have the two-wheel drive with the front wheel motor. Surprisingly useful, actually. I'd rather stay out of the bushes where possible. I think this is the spot. Just got to keep eyes open for little slithery friends. I've packed quite a punch because there's no shortage of them around here. And they can probably move considerably faster on sand than I can. I always remember Bear Grylls, I think, saying you never have any idea how steep a mountain is until you put your nose right up against it. I think the same is true of sandy tracks. You've no idea just how sandy until you start trying to cycle down it and realize that you're going downhill but still pedaling. And not only that, you're having to shift into a lighter gear because it's so boggy. But we had a brief respite there of actually what appeared to be sand but was actually like grit. But now we're just back to sand again. But fortunately, we're nearly at the bottom. Although I have no idea what the bottom brings, but at least we're close enough to finding out. After absolutely slogging through the sand for the last while, I thought, well, at least that's the end of the hills. Not so much. So we're up at the very northernmost part, really, of the beach. There's only a small stretch of it left to go. I am sorely tempted to drag the bike down here and see if I can actually ride on that hard pack. I do have knobbly tires on, which I mean I'll cut it up a bit, but it might be pretty cool, and then I can probably escape somewhere further up there at the 4x4 beach. Right, let's go back and get the bike and try not to get bitten by a snake in the process. I keep seeing snake holes all over the dunes. There's one, there's one. So yeah, less of that, or this. There's a big one. No airing down, full sand. If I can even get going. Oh, come on. This is really hating life. We're well over the rim in terms of depth of sand. Okay, alright, that's a bust. Not far to the hard pack. Deceptively soft. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, gonna have to be right at the waterline. There we go, that's not too bad. Some might even call it pleasant. Doubt my frame would agree though, being steel and everything. Despite the soft sand and the pain in the ass journey to get here, can't really complain, can you? Doesn't get much better than that. Well, this is delightful in terms of road surface compared to what we've had most of the day. Oh, get around it. Whee! I think I know where this is bringing me actually. Oh, this is absolutely ideal. There's only so much slogging through deep sand you can do before you start really thinking you could have just stayed at home on the couch. But this is delightful and should mean that we get to where we're going a hell of a lot faster, so we can see if this next campsite, my god, how big is that dog or horse, is actually viable, because I'm just scoping out potential wild camping spots, not like big very obvious camp spots or bringing a 4x4 or anything like that down. So it's just trying to do it a little bit stealthy, so just having a bit of a poke around. There's a lizard. Hello lizard. Bye bye lizard. Yeah, anyway, we'll see how we go. Enjoyable day so far though. The camera surely isn't picking this up, but there are so many small lizards just darting around in front of me. It's so cool. It kind of feels like you're cycling through a miniature version of Jurassic Park. But I keep looking down and going, is that a leaf or is it a lizard? And then sure enough, it'll just absolutely belt it. Come on, down. Case in point, they're not the smartest creatures in the world. But fortunately, we've not squished any so far. We'll try and keep it that way. Ever so slightly different vibe to the approach to this possible option. Very weird roads, weird place. Very post-apocalyptic type vibe to it. So the road has gotten significantly quieter, and as you can see, there's speed bumps, because what has actually happened is I've inadvertently, or unbeknownst to me until now, entered a national park from the backside of it. So I was hoping that this kind of fell somewhere in between the jurisdictions of national park and just a place, but no, it's actually a national park. So really pleasant to cycle through, because the speed bumps mean that everything is pretty chill, but might cause some issues vis-a-vis the camp situation. We're not far from it anyway, from what I can tell from Google Earth anyway, so find out soon enough. Weather's starting to churn as well. We're getting that late afternoon, early evening point. So there's not much by means of heat left, which is no bad thing, but there's also not heaps and heaps of daylight either. So I'll be mindful of that because I don't have any lights, and we'll probably start making tracks soon enough anyway. Head homeward, get a beer. Whacked my derailleur off that, which is great. This isn't what I was expecting when I got down here, but it's certainly very pretty, so no complaints. Gives us an opportunity as well to take a closer look at the bikepacking bike. So if you have seen my video which intros all my bikes, you would have seen this before. It's my 1996 Specialized Rockhopper. It's the steel version. It's got the Ritchie Nitanium tubing, little Ritchie sticker down there. And I have this set up in a couple of different manners depending on what I'm doing. So I've just recently thrown on a Maxxis Crossmark in the front and a Maxxis Aspen in the rear. It runs a 1x drivetrain out to this Altus mech, running this absolute dinner plate of a cassette. I think it's a 50 tooth. And yeah, I kind of throw on slicks, I throw on off-road tires, depending. It's got the Edwin bow segmented fork, which is very beautiful. And it also has the matching coffee rack with the little knockoff Paul's light mount on the front. Hey man, can you shut up? What else? Brooks saddle, tail bag, frame bag, keep all my gear in there. I drilled the frame out and I mounted this, which I'm quite proud of. It's a Bluetooth speaker mount, but it actually works perfectly as a cargo cage and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. It's got a pair of Santori Noirette bars, which I quite like. They have this nice kind of sweep back on them, very comfortable. It's got the largest collection of headset spacers you ever did see. Got the X-Tech Zoom hybrid hydraulic up front, so it's cable operated, but then it has a hydraulic reserve in there, so you kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds. On the rear, I've got the old school LX parallelogram V-brake. I do want to weld a disc mount onto this frame, but that's obviously a relatively large job, so something that is somewhat been backburnered. I've got my tent on it currently. I've got my Brooks saddle, which I still feel like I'm breaking in. But it is quite delightful. These Trivative cranks are very, very light. I bought them for $5 in a bike jumble sale, but they'll probably go onto my Klein and something else go onto this. And this rear wheel that I built up from an XT hub I had, and the Ride Zac 2000 rim. So that's the bike. I love it to bits. It's super comfortable. It just plods along slowly, just like me. And it absolutely does the job. So it can hold plenty of gear when it's in full kitted out mode with cargo cages on the front and a full tail bag on the back and frame bag and the whole 9 yards. But for today, we're just doing a little bit of a dry run and scoping some quite beautiful places. And yeah, that's that's kind of a wrap on this one. I'm definitely going to keep exploring and looking for new places that might be suitable for camping. I also need to actually pitch this tent at some point, because so far I haven't done so. So, I mean, it's a one man and it's ultralight, so I can't expect it's going to be too difficult, but I've not done it yet, so I never like to go into a situation unpracticed. And that is a diver, right? I wasn't sure what I was looking at. Okay, right. Yeah, that's about it for today. Nice way to spend a hangover Sunday. I don't feel hungover anymore, so it's time to go and have a beer and put that back on an even keel. So if you've liked this, feel free to subscribe, comment, share, all the usual stuff, and let me know if there's any kind of spots you recommend that are good for kind of light duty, leave no trace style bike packing, you know, ultra lightweight tent, hammock, that sort of stuff. Definitely not a big operation, but gives you a lot more options as where you can go. But a lot of places obviously I don't know, having not grown up here. So yeah, there's definitely some very cool spots around and plenty more to be found. Peace.